you see the little indentation? That's the only thing you can notice from the Kevlar being there. Everything else looks, I think, it is.
Okay. Call the meeting to order. Make a note that members Cabral and Wu are not present. So we make a motion to go into closed session.
Mayor, before you do that, may I just announce the conference with real property negotiators? Closed session item B is discussion concerning real property transactions in compliance with Government Code Section 54956.8 regarding real property negotiations, APN 701-041-06, 701-041-52, 701-041-55, 701-041-58, 701-041-59, 701-041-62, 701-043-07, 701-043-08, 701-043-09, and 701-341-02. The property is located near the eastern terminus of Avenida Pico in the city of San Clemente. City negotiators are Andy Hall, city manager, Brian Brower, assistant city manager, Adam Matamian, community development director, negotiating parties, Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency, Talega Associates LLC, and Talega Maintenance Corporation. Under negotiation is terms.
My apologies for stepping on you. And motion was made to adjourn by Mayor Pro Tem Noblock, second by Council Member Enmeyer. All in favor? Aye.
Closed session.
Oh.
Back here.
All
right.
Okay, since we're still technically under closed session, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we continue our closed session until at the end of our meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Okay, the regular city council meeting is come to order. Note that all 5 council members are here. Madam Clerk?
Yes, and again, this is the regular city council meeting of February 17th, 2026, and we are calling the meeting to order, beginning with the invocation given by the lead pastor, Mark Ambrose, with Pacific Coast Church.
Good evening. All right, let's pray. Lord, just want to begin our time together by slowing down and thanking you for another day of life, that we can all be healthy enough to be here, and a beautiful sunset tonight, and where we live and the things we can enjoy. We're grateful for that, and we give you thanks for that. And I thank you for this council, Lord, that is appointed at this time to make decisions for the community and the people that call this place their home. And so I pray you guide and direct their meeting. I pray that you'd give them wisdom. You give them discernment to accomplish your will in San Clemente. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Steve, would you like to leave the
Sure, please join me in a pledge of the flag. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item on the agenda, and we will note that all council members are present. There are no special presentations this evening, so the first item on the agenda is council member reports.
Okay, Mark, you want to lead off?
Sure. All right, not much to report, but I had a meeting with the CASA, the Coastal Animal Shelter Authority. We talked about that there is a discount for a Valentine's discount for adopting pets. I think it's running another week or two, so you can check that out. Met with Mary Erickson Community Housing, and also had a great time working at the San Clemente High School with the Love San Clemente organization. We did some great plantings and laying of mulch, and some great new murals were put up. I know that organization worked on a lot of other council members here are working on that as well, but they worked on schools throughout the city. It was a great opportunity to volunteer, and thank you to all the volunteers and the organizers as well.
Zen?
Thank you, Mayor. On 5th, I attended a SCAG meeting, Transportation Committee. It was actually held in the conference room downstairs, so I attended remotely. When that happened, the public can also participate here. And then on Sunday, 7th, I attended the OC Heritage Council Parade in the city of Anaheim. And then, give me a second. Then, that's all I have. Thank you.
Victor?
Oh, sure. February 4th, as the city, San Clemente's representative to the Songs Community Engagement Panel and as vice chairman, we have a monthly meeting to discuss and consult with Southern California Edison on our ongoing planning and execution for the storage of nuclear fuel and for the demolition of the Songs nuclear power plant. This planning meeting was held to discuss how the community is interacting with the public, how we're safely managing and storing the spent nuclear fuel. The CEP is committed to ensuring that the spent nuclear fuel at Songs is ready to be shipped to an off-site storage facility as soon as one becomes available. February 5th, attended a Chamber of Commerce meeting to discuss future agenda items of concern to the Chamber. That same day, I attended as a representative to the Golf Course Committee, the quarterly meeting, listened to our citizens' input, and spoke at the meeting regarding the management of the course, including the golf course comprehensive market analysis and financial review. There was an update on the golf course master plan and a review of the new proposed scorecards. Most importantly, the citizens had an opportunity to give their input on the changes that are coming to the golf course. On the 6th, there was a new, oh, we're not there yet. We're doing the Sharks first, February 6th. There was a new buoy dropped off of San Clemente Pier that'll monitor the sharks along our beach. I don't think I sent the video, but I did send a picture, but I guess we don't have it.
No, it's coming up.
Okay. February 8th, we had the first annual Love San Clemente dinner. Rick, you were also there. Celebrate the kickoff with local community volunteers. On the 7th, we did have that day of community service. It's an effort organized by our community. It includes our religious institutions, many of the civic organizations in San Clemente, and most importantly, the citizens of San Clemente. We estimate that there was over 1,400 participants. We had representatives from the Marines, we had representatives from most of the churches, representatives from high school students, soccer clubs. This is one of my favorite photos from one of the schools where they repainted the United States in various colors. It had just, as you can see, it lost all its color off the years. So this first community engagement was about working at all the schools in San Clemente to make them better. As Mark said, it was a community effort. We raised almost in time, effort, cash, almost I would guess close to $150,000 in cash. We raised almost $75,000 for this effort. But when you include all the donated materials and activity, it was an enormous success. Lisa Davis spearheaded the project, but there was also several people I want to just give a quick shout out to. Patricia Holloway and Sarah Gold from the Garden Club, who did extraordinary work with the plantings. Sharon Putnam, who did marketing. Anna Cabral, who did the fundraising for the group. Rick Loeffler, who helped with the county with the Friends of San Clemente. Jennifer Adams, who did the media outreach. And then Tim Brown and Derek Valenzuela, who led the effort at San Clemente High School projects. San Clemente High School projects. I was there Saturday, I think from 7 a.m. till Lisa and I were the last two people to leave at 5 o'clock when we put all the tools away. Major donors to this project include the Marriott Daughters Foundation and Hogue. And there were many more donations, as I said. February 8th, like all of you probably watched the Super Bowl, where our hometown hero put San Clemente and our high school football team on the map. As has been reported by staff, our staff is working with San Clemente High School staff, our city staff, and San Darnold's representatives to find a date to recognize his accomplishment. February 9th, I canceled my in-person trip to the White House Religious Liberty Commission, but got online and listened to the half-day presentation on anti-Semitism and the impact on everyone in the community. It was an extraordinary effort to participate in. February 10th, met with some constituents of an issue of water drainage from the street drainage onto their property. There'll be more to come on that, but it was a couple hours of looking at the project and what's going on there. February 13th, meeting regarding the neighboring cities' use of drones to monitor fireworks on the 4th of July. They are running a program right now that, and have just imposed an ordinance that imposes fines on property owners who allow fireworks to be set off on their properties. I met with them preliminary to find out what their ordinance looks like, and there'll be more to come on that too. On the 13th, as the city representative to Cal Cities for the 5th Supervisorial District, attended our monthly meeting to discuss upcoming state legislation, including funding for Prop 36, the status of the Olympics, and the proposed mileage tax being put on by the city. We are also going to host a countywide forum on e-bike regulations and get input from a number of different cities. February 14th, attended the Cars and Coffee to monitor their compliance. I should say that it's probably one of the most well-attended events that we've had, and maybe it was because of the anticipated rain, but it was more people than I've ever seen there before. And there was also a significant police presence to make sure that people were abiding by our laws. But most importantly, there was a lot of business and tax revenue being created for the city. I attended the mayor's dinner for Newport Beach's new mayor, Lauren Kleinman, a friend and colleague who we've worked on many issues affecting our respective communities. Always a good opportunity to sit and chat with her and figure out what's going on there and how we can share information about that. Yesterday, we had a meeting with several elected officials regarding issues related to San Clemente and the county. That's it.
Yes, on the 6th of February, I attended a meeting with the Orange County Power Authority. This council, about 3-4 years ago, decided not to participate at that time with their source of power for our city. Since then, they've had a number of administrative changes and contract changes, and I've asked them to meet with our city manager to see if that's something that we want to consider in the future. On the same day, on the 16th, I attended an ad hoc committee, citizens committee, regarding the possibility of small craft access at North Beach. And on the 13th, I attended a meeting with the Assemblywoman Dixon regarding state resources for sand on our beaches. And on the 14th, a meeting with the Supervisor Desmond regarding Orange County and San Diego County issues involving security and so forth for the Olympics and other issues of joint interest. That concludes my report.
All right, thanks. I want to put up my activity slide. This will be some of my organized, scheduled activities that I'll put up, but you can just read at your leisure. Also wanted to thank Councilmember Cabral and his lovely wife, Anna. They were some of the primary organizers of the Love to Serve San Clemente. Also wanted to bring up a couple of other people that were primary on this. Thor Johnson and Donna Vadrine were in charge of the pickup of donated plants at Shade Tree Nursery in Irvine, and I became a part of that. Don't ever buy a pickup truck. That's just not a good idea. So went out there and picked up a lot of donated plants. Was great, and Thor and Donna were a great team together organizing it, I will say. Also, just go ahead and toss up my photo here, tell you about something that was really fun. So yesterday I was lucky enough to attend the 103rd birthday of Joe Osterman at the San Clemente Villas. And that guy is 103 years old. It's incredible. And he has a great story. He served in the Navy in World War II. He was a radioman and a weapons operator serving on a merchant ship. And what that means is all the merchant ships that went across to crossing the Atlantic to take supplies and goods to the Allies, they didn't have many armaments on there, so they put a couple of Navy guys on there with very limited armament to go cross the Atlantic. He made, I think, 8 crossings, and they were prime targets for the U-boats.
Didn't come home.
Extremely dangerous. Great guy. Just a great guy. And I told him I'll be there next year for his 104th, so I'm excited about that. And just a quick note, too. He was really happy to meet the mayor and have me saying, city council, we all, really respect you, and he was fine. But we had 3 deputies, Deputy Daniel Gonzalez, Deputy Parquet, I'm sorry, I butchered it, and Community Service Officer Van Brunt that showed up in OCSD. And when he got up there and they started thanking him for his service, he broke down in tears. And Angelica, I know, is in the back there. I wish I would have had you send me that picture of Joe tearing up. It was really, really emotional, just a great guy. So that was the highlight of my week, and that ends my presentation. Thank you.
Mayor, I have to admit, he looks younger than you do. Just in that picture, just saying.
Thank you for sharing, Andy.
I'll save you, Andy. Oral communications. Next item on the agenda is oral communications. And I will call the first several speakers up. Susan McDevitt, followed by Douglas Bistry, followed by Sandra Cunipo, and then Lois McNichol.
And real quick, if I may, Madam Clerk, did we put the quorum rules in the
We
back?
did. They're at the back of the council chambers next to the inspection copy of the agenda.
Okay, and anybody that hasn't perused those, feel free to. We do have some decorum here, and I know sometimes people get passionate, but we want to remember that we remain respectful to everybody. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Susan McDevitt, and I'm the Executive Director for Mary Erickson Community Housing. And as an affordable housing nonprofit organization, we have dedicated ourselves to the development of affordable housing and the long-term operation of affordable housing. And we actually got our start right here in San Clemente over 30 years ago. So we've been working within this community for 30 years. I'm here tonight to respectfully request your help with the potential forgiveness for 2 city legacy loans that we have on 2 of our small buildings here in San Clemente, 133 and 135 West Cañada, where there's 8 units, and 143 West Marquita, where there's 4 units. And these loans were made by the city over 30 years ago and to support affordable housing. That public purpose has been fulfilled. We've been serving the community for 30 years with that housing. The affordability covenant for the Cañada property, the 8-unit property, has expired, and as a part of the terms from decades ago, it was that we have to repay the entire amount that the city invested in that property of $100,000 now. And the same thing similarly for Marquita. We have 55-year covenants. We've served 30 of those years. So we have 25 more years of affordability for that property. And in the original documents, it stated that at year 30, which looking back on it now, I don't know why it's a random year in between the covenants, that we have to pay the city investment back of $145,000 for that property. These are not properties that are generating a lot of profit. What they have generated is public benefit. We've operated them and provided affordable housing and stable housing for community members in San Clemente. And there's probably serving about 48 people between those, within those units. So we're requesting a forgiveness because the intent is to hopefully preserve and reinvest in these buildings. When we acquired them, they were old, and now going 30 years out longer, they're in really significant need of rehabilitation. So we hope to utilize the funds if we are able to gain forgiveness for that purpose, to reinvest them right back so that we can continue the affordability on that. We have had discussions with staff about this previously, so we have had discussions on it, and we hope to be able to discuss this further at a future council meeting. And we thank you very much for your time, your consideration, and support of affordable housing.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Douglas Bistry.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, my name is Doug Bistry. I am a resident of San Clemente, but more importantly today I'm here as a board member of the nonprofit organization Mary Erickson. I don't know how it happened, but somehow I became the old guy on the nonprofit board, and I was actually on the board and have continuously served on the board the entire 30 years of the terms of these loans. So I know a little bit about it. I remember when the city was gracious enough in supporting our small fledgling nonprofit organization to help us to create affordable housing in this wonderful, beautiful community that we all share. And, as a resident, I know that, affordable housing is not sexy. In fact, it's usually not desired. And everybody says, gee, we don't want it, and I don't want to have these people living near me. But I want to throw a rhetorical question to all of you. And are you familiar with our projects? Have you received complaints about them? I hope not. And if you haven't heard about it, or if you haven't seen it, or if it hasn't been a problem and people haven't complained, then I think we're doing a pretty good job. And I think we have for a long, long time. I've been in your shoes before. I'm a former city council member myself from a city in North Orange County. I understand your responsibility as fiscal agents of the city's resources. But I also think we have an obligation, and the obligation is to take care of those that are not as fortunate, those that struggle. And we know that we need workers for our restaurants, for our hotels, for the service industry. And that's what Mary Erickson has quietly done for 30 plus years. We're not out, we probably need to do a much better job of bragging about the work that we do. I think we want to partner with the city more. And I understand that, the state and the governor in particular has big objectives about bringing more affordable housing and telling cities that if you don't do it yourself, the state's going to come in and step in. Well, Mary Erickson Community Housing Organization is here to help you. And we would love to have an olive branch and say, help us with this request on these two properties. We want to work with you. We want to make sure that we can help fulfill the promise that this city can present, not only for those that are wealthy and those that are fortunate enough, but also those that are least fortunate. So I just want to say again, thank you very much for the work you've done, for the support you've given us. And by the way, Mary Erickson Community Housing Corp. is a almost all volunteer organization. We have 2 paid staff members.
Thank you, Douglas.
We respectfully request you to consider this. Thank you so much.
Sandra Kanipo, followed by Lois McNichol, followed by Linda Moore.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Sandra Cunipo. I am blessed to be the program director for Mary Erickson Community Housing. And I would like to share this decision, what this decision means from the residents' perspective. The people who live in Cañada and Marquita are the kinds of households that make San Clemente work. They're families with children, families that are working that have steady jobs, and a few seniors with fixed incomes. When housing is stable and affordable, it changes everything. It means a parent can keep a child in the same school. It means someone can stay closer to work and not have to commute for hours. It means that parents don't have to make decisions between feeding their children and paying the rent. It means that they don't have to worry about the medical bills, and they can actually, pay their medical bills, and their kids can have the care that they need. When we talk about these loans, it can sound like it's just an issue for accounting, but for our residents, it's a lifeline, it's stability, and it's a place that they call home. The buildings are older and they require real rehabilitation. We have to understand that our rents are low income. I'm talking about a 3-bedroom for $1,900, and all the maintenance that it requires isn't low income. It's what everybody else pays. So it's kind of hard for us to, try to keep that going, but we're trying really hard for these families. At the same time, the cost of operating affordable housing keeps rising, insurance increases, utilities, repairs, and the increases are real, and they've hit nonprofits hard because we are also keeping rents restricted and affordable for these families. If repayment of these loans strains the properties, the people affected are not a corporation or market rate landowner. It's the families that live there. We are proud of our many successes with some of our families that have children that have been able to go to college, universities, and graduated. We also have a few families that have bought their own homes, that have graduated the program and are now homeowners. We are asking the city to help allow us to continue with our program, and we're just really grateful for this opportunity to speak today, and thank you for considering Mary Erickson Community Housing.
Thank you, Sandra.
Lois McNichol, followed by Linda Moore, followed by Susan Rosenberger.
It seems City Hall and the council could use a refresher on both meeting procedures and what free speech zones actually mean. I was told I could walk up and down Del Mar with a clipboard collecting petition signatures, but not set up a small table. That logic doesn't hold. Gathering signatures is a lawful, government-recognized way to redress grievances. If walking the sidewalk is permitted speech, a small table doesn't magically turn it into illegal speech. What is happening looks like a lot like content and viewpoint-based enforcement. Loud, profane demonstrations are tolerated while peaceful political activity is restricted. Courts have been very clear. Selective enforcement isn't regulation, it's censorship. Council members should be aware that residents may speak twice for 3 minutes at meetings. San Clemente was sued over this exact issue and lost. It's curious that current legal counsel hasn't flagged that, unless her role is limited to advising council on procedure rather than protecting the constitutional rights of citizens. The Brown Act preamble sends it plainly. The people do not give public servants the right to decide what is good for the public to know and what is not. That principle seems to be getting lost. Rick, you're back in the spotlight. You abruptly shut down a first-time speaker. She was so shaken by the experience that she left and may never return. If the goal is to discourage public participation, that approach works. But that's not what democracy looks like. I've heard this council actively dissuade people from speaking. That's backwards. Anyone who wants to speak should be encouraged, not intimidated. Here's a constructive idea. Hold a mock council meeting. Teach residents how to find agendas, understand procedures, and speak effectively. Education empowers participation. Informed citizens show up, ask better questions, and challenge misrepresentation in public. And that's healthy for democracy. Accountability isn't a threat, it's the point. And while I'm here, I intend to make the most of my time on this blue dot.
Thank you, Lois.
Linda Moore, followed by Susan Rosenberger, followed by Louise Herbert.
I addressed this to the council members who voted for leasing San Clemente property to our federal government for the purpose of building a marine surveillance system. They are Cabral, Knobloch, Wu, which his vote to abstain had the same effect as a yes vote, and Mayor Loeffler. You four men ignored the majority of speakers who spoke out against this proposal. It's a proposal which will endanger the privacy of all San Clemente citizens. To allow the federal government to build and maintain a surveillance system in our city with no oversight on our part is to invite God only knows what into our city. I have to thank Councilmember Meyer for having the imagination and foresight to see the possible horrendous results that can occur from this action, and who wisely rejected it. But my real argument now has to be, since it seems to be a done deal, that this was a serious, very serious matter, one that will affect all citizens of San Clemente. We deserve to have more notice on it, and we deserve to have a greater say in it. I don't know how this is done exactly, perhaps through a town hall, published in the newspaper, mailers to people, but I just left a Mardi Gras party, as you can see, and the people thanked me for coming here to speak out against this. And they said, we didn't know. We did not know about this. And I think that would refer to most majority of San Clemente citizens. There needs to be a way to inform us of such important matters. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Linda.
Susan Rosenberger, followed by Louise Herbert, followed by Patricia Holloway.
Good evening, council members. Thank you very much. My name is Susan Rosenberger. I am a resident and homeowner in San Clemente. I am here this evening to talk about the surveillance/spy camera proposed by Homeland Security in our town. I attended the first hearing on this topic and learned from many residents opposing this proposal. Since then, I have learned of many areas in our country where Homeland Security proposed putting facilities in by buying public warehouses, among them Ashland, Virginia, Salt Lake City, Utah, Durant, Oklahoma, San Antonio, Texas, Merrimack, New Hampshire, Social Circle, Georgia, Morris County, New Jersey, Kansas City, Missouri, 3 places in Arizona, and Hagerstown, Maryland. The boards of these cities or counties were all interested in allowing Homeland Security to go through with their project. Purchasing warehouses owned by private interests and to be changing them into detention centers for more than 5,000 to 10,000 people. When the residents of those areas heard of this plan, they wrote letters, they sent emails, they made phone calls, they protested these plans. Definitely, it was a totally unpopular idea. They did not want these facilities in their towns or in their counties. The council members and the county supervisors, while they wanted this plan to proceed, they listened to the voices of their constituents and rejected the offer from Homeland Security. Granted, our situation is different. At this point, Homeland Security is not wanting to build a warehouse in our town. Apparently, they're doing that in Santa Ana and up by John Wayne Airport. But who knows what the future holds for San Clemente? Why are we letting Homeland Security and possibly other branches of government, ICE maybe, have an opening here? Unfortunately, we have a city council who is choosing to ignore the wishes of your constituents and are deciding to go along with their private wishes and allow Homeland Security to set up powerful cameras over our houses, over our businesses in our town.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Louise Herbert, followed by Patricia Holloway.
Thank you, City Council. I'm Louise Herbert, a resident for, can't remember anymore, 44 years, something like that. And I thank you for the new instructions there on how to behave in city council meetings. I'd like further explanation of what disruptive behavior pertains to. It's really a broad stroke with no definition, such as people filming and disturbing other people in council should be one of the earmarked aspects. I understand that I missed the lovely video clip that that person did later, but I did see the one that Mayor Pro Tem put out during a podcast stating that very few people spoke against the surveillance system. Only a few extreme lefty liberalists. And I thank you very much. You gave me star power. And it did show me that actually you're afraid of what I represent. Moving forward here, I would like further definition from whomever as to what they actually mean by disruptive behavior. Some of these words are that of my husband, who wrote to you that he's totally against, as I am, the installation of the surveillance system that can view all of our private residents of the city and neighboring cities. This is in direct violation of the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. It's exactly something the Germans would have done in the 1930s had they had that technology. But instead, they directed Gestapo, aka ICE, to harass immigrants and Jews, aka Somalians and Hispanics, and round them up from the streets. Oh wait, isn't that what the current administration is doing with ICE? I'm very concerned that the current leadership is trying to develop a totalitarian dictatorship like Hitler did in Germany. Neither of us have a problem with surveillance, but where it should be is down on the pier. Where it's planned to be located can't even see breaking water. They don't see the edge of the water. They see very few feet out into the water. Just walk up there and you will see that you can't see. Having surveillance on the end of the pier, one looking west, one looking north, one looking south, seems like that would be the more reasonable application. But instead, this was pushed right under our noses with no public awareness. I've spoken to many people in town. They knew nothing of it. Why we don't have a town hall for this, as we did for a no abortion, gun sanctuary, and voter
Thank you, Louise.
resistance is insane. Really, we demand a town hall.
Patricia Holloway.
Dear council members, I know some of you expressed reservations about approving the Department of Homeland Security's marine surveillance system to be located on city property. It's not too late to reverse course and prohibit the federal government from monitoring San Clemente residents and others without their knowledge or permission. Councilman Knobloch started out by suggesting that San Clemente citizens could surveil the water and report their findings to the authorities like Customs and Border Patrol. I view this as a vigilante approach and believe it was a bad idea. But equally bad is the City Council's 3-1-1 vote in favor of a surveillance system that prohibits the city from any access to this monitoring device. We are told that these powerful cameras have the ability to follow suspicious persons, citizen or not, from the ocean onto land and into our neighborhoods. Apparently, this type of system can also link with traffic cameras. What's next? Drones? This is entirely unacceptable and not worth the loss of privacy and freedom from government monitoring of our everyday lives. Please do not let our beach town become known across the state and the country as San Clemente Surveillance by the Sea. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia.
That is all for oral communications. Moving on, we have motion waiving reading in full of all resolutions and ordinances.
Second.
We have Mr. Enmeyer, second by Mr. Cabral, in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Consideration of agendizing items requiring immediate action?
Seeing none?
None. Closed session report, city attorney?
Thank you. Councilmember Cabral joined closed session at 4:31, right after it was recessed. And it was the council who met in closed session with the absence of Councilmember Wu on item A. There was direction given and no reportable action. Same thing for B. There was direction given and no reportable action. And item C was continued to the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Staff communications, we have Public Works Director, City Engineer Riebensdorf.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I have a brief presentation. I should have a couple of slides here to come up. I'm going to give some information on OCTA's Area 3 and the status of that project, Linda Lane Pump Station, and also the trail closure. So this photo here is of the OCTA's Area 3. This is the north area by El Portal. Next photo, please. You can see almost all of the I-beams and caissons have been installed. And on the north end, some of the lagging has been installed as well. Typically they're about 6 feet on center. And so this is the area of the slide that took out the bridge a couple years ago. And so there's a few I-beams left there. Next photo, please. And this is the south area of Mariposa. You can see a couple of additional I-beams that need to be installed in that area. So that work is almost complete. Next photo. This is looking back at Mariposa, the area where the sewer line, if the council approves this evening, will be lined in that area. And then once that's complete, Condon Johnson will complete the wall in that south area. Next photo. And this was shown to the council back in January. This is the rendering of the completed project. Any questions on that project before I move on?
Timing on the completion for the Mariposa?
Oh, yeah, great question. It's still about the same, summer of this year. There have been a few delays with weather this week and possibly some next week, but they're still on track.
Do you plan on reporting on Lawson's also?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be my last one here.
A quick question. I had a constituent ask about having some sort of, there used to be a viewing outlook area on the old bridge that was there. Is there any sort of plans at all to have any sort of overlook ability with this at all?
Yes, not as part of this project, but staff is taking that into consideration as a future project and potentially looking into grant funding for some type of project to allow for continued viewing. One thing to note, the trail will be above the railroad tracks for the most part, anywhere from roughly 3 to 6 feet. So you won't lose your view when you're walking that portion of the trail. So.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. This is a photo of the Linda Lane project just above our pump station, replacement of the rehabilitation of the slope. 23 caissons have been installed so far, along with the whalers, the upper row, and a series of tiebacks have all been tested and installed. They're working on the second row. The project is anticipated to be complete in April. Once that second row goes in the next few weeks, then you'll see them start working from the ground up, but just behind the pump station. They'll regrade that slope up to the top of those caissons. And the rest of the work is being done by the private property owners, and they have an application into the Coastal Commission, and we're still responding, or they're still responding along with assistance from the city to some of the questions that the Coastal Commission has. Any questions on that project?
The residents directly above there with the tarps hanging on the slope there, is that an occupied residence?
Yes, it is. It's a VRBO property or Airbnb. The property, the house sits on caissons.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Next slide. This is a photo from this morning on the trail closure between Boca del Cannon and Lost Winds. Just as a precautionary measure due to all the rain, that was anticipated. The trail was closed yesterday, and as you can see, there's still some moving debris. Staff will reevaluate the trail after the rains subside this week, and hopefully we'll have it open as soon as possible. But we want to keep it closed just for the protection of the public. As you can see, there's still some debris movement when we have rain events. And that's the end of my presentation, unless there's any other questions.
A quick question on the last slide, the large rock boulder section of earth that's kind of moving in that area. I understand that's on private property. Have we any contact with the private property owner to see if it's possible to move that large piece of earth instead of hanging precariously over the trail? Any discussions with moving that to get it down off the trail, dissolved and hauled off?
Staff has not had those discussions with property owners, but what we've had discussions with is reducing the amount of water use that they have on their property to just minimize any water that gets in behind that slope. But yes, staff could certainly have that conversation. I don't know if they'd be willing to, but it is a good conversation to have potentially.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, I believe that the city owns a narrow sliver of property there along the coastal trail. Is that rock actually inside the city property?
There's a portion of the rock is on city property, or a portion of that section of the bluff just below Leslie Park, and the other sides, both south and north, are owned by private property owners.
Okay.
Any further questions? Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is public hearings. The public hearing process includes a staff presentation, a presentation by the applicant not to exceed 10 minutes, and public testimony not to exceed 3 minutes per speaker. Following closure of the public hearing, the city council will respond to questions raised during the hearing, discuss the issues, and act upon the matter by motion. First public hearing we have is item 8A, public hearing to consider adoption of a resolution updating lease rates, methodology, and process for wireless telecommunications facilities on city-owned property.
Public hearing is open, and any council members have any ex parte disclosures at this time? Seeing none, has there been any communication since the item was published? Seeing none. Staff presentation. And Madam Clerk, do we have cards on this?
We do not have any speaker
Okay,
cards.
thank you. Do we have one speaker card?
We have one speaker card.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. The item in front of us this evening is related to wireless telecommunications and a proposal originating from staff related to updating the framework and lease rates that the city charges for facilities that are on city-owned property. The purpose of this item is to improve clarity and align our lease rates to be in line with market rates. That's coming from a review of what our neighboring cities are charging. Currently, the city implements a fee schedule that was implemented first about 25 years ago that has shifted along with the CPI to adjust on that. However, it's a line-by-line fee schedule that has some complexity of administration that can also result in delays in how quickly staff can process requests for these types of facilities. So we're looking at adopting a revised lease rate and methodology process, but it would be the same rates and same process for all carriers and tower owners if implemented. So this screen shows what that process is. This is an exhibit within the resolution, and it is modeled after the California Department of General Services that establishes a 3-tier system. Think of it as small, medium, large. And if you meet the criteria of small, you pay the small lease rate, medium, and so on. So it simplifies the process as opposed to looking at the full spectrum of equipment at a site to the primary elements, the square footage and the antennas. And the lease rates that are shown here and included are actually a reduction of what the California Department of General Services charges, but more in line with what we are seeing from neighboring cities. So the benefits of implementing a program like this would be simplified leasing, clear categories and fees, more understandable for entities that are looking to enter into a lease agreement with the city, but also potential revenue growth. On the issue side, potentially there could be carriers who, with the new lease rates, view them as an increase from the city and have less interest in establishing new leases. So the staff recommendations, this is just bulleted directly from the report, but running through these items is to adopt the resolution, which would include this new lease rate and methodology, repeal any conflicting prior actions or resolutions, implement the new standardized lease rate structure for all future telecommunications company leases, approve a standardized lease template that was also included as an exhibit within the staff report, authorize the city manager to execute these standardized leases, and then finally, related to that authorization, direct staff to initiate an amendment to city policy 901-1, again, that would authorize the city manager to execute a standardized lease type that does not involve negotiations. So that concludes the staff report, but I am available if there are any questions.
We'd like to hear from the one resident comment before we question staff.
Mindy Hartstein?
Thank you. Mindy Hartstein with T-Mobile. And the beginning of this, I would say we appreciate the fact that the city is moving forward with lease type arrangement and making modifications. However, it will not be potentially impacting the city in terms of the lease rates. The other part to this is for, I guess, over 2 years, we've been working on a ground-only piece where the attachments would be on an SE tower. The rents being proposed for such a thing, actually, I'm not even sure it fits into one of the categories, but any of the rents proposed would be more than what we pay for the attachment on the structure, which is a little unheard of throughout Southern California. I'd like the opportunity to have more time to actually review what's been proposed, because tonight is the first time I'm actually seeing the draft itself and to be able to make comments. So I would ask that this be postponed, or at least a decision on it, until we can review the actual language. Again, it's not that we're not supportive of the city and trying to make improvements to their lease arrangements. But again, I think there are other considerations we need to look at. T-Mobile does provide over a third of the service to your constituents. And so we want to make sure that we can continue to provide a high-quality service to the community as well as visitors as they come in. But again, establishing certain rates, and I am very familiar with DGS and why they've come up with that in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. And I think explaining some of that to the city, you may want to, reflect on what the pricing structure is in here and what that impact could be. Again, if macro cells aren't going to be the way forward, there are CLEC companies that can put things in the right of way as of right, and unfortunately the city wouldn't receive anything in terms of monetary compensation. So we want to make sure that we're able to provide service. It's not that we don't wish to pay, obviously, for that, but I think that we need to reflect on that, as well as perhaps maybe looking at terming it small cells versus macro cells, which would be in conformity with the FCC in the way that they describe it. So I'd like that, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you, Nikki. Have questions for Mr. Lightfoot?
Yes, I'm just curious on your response to some of the comments. I'm not familiar necessarily with the micro cell versus small cell and how this rate would impact that. Could you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So first, the table that we looked at that included 3 different terms, micro, mini, and macro, it is a state terminology. So they created definitions to align, to differentiate between those. And those terms are specifically tied to the number of antennas and the size of the ground area that's being used. It's not necessarily a reference to the size of the antenna type that's going at this facility or the power of the facility necessarily. It's tied to those 2 key components to differentiate the size of a standalone facility. When just for a clarification item, small cell is a term that is fairly commonly heard, and as Ms. Hartstein mentioned, often is more typically related to facilities in the right-of-way. So a facility that's like a cap on a light or a backpack to an existing light pole, something of that sort, that doesn't require its own new structure and a full enclosure on the ground. It's a much smaller facility. Most commonly, those types of facilities are used in very dense areas. So you see a lot of small cells activity around like arenas and places like that where they want to have a density. In our community, the most common request for facility type is a macro cell, so like a standalone tower that has a broader range of coverage, but where you don't have tens of thousands of people in one area trying to reach service at the same time.
Other questions for Mr. Lightfoot?
I do have a question. Have we had any concern expressed by other telecommunication providers? And have you taken those into consideration?
Yeah, I did receive a call today, not from a carrier, but from a subcontractor who relayed a similar sentiment that the rates may be discouraging of new leases. And to be honest, I also have gotten some conflicting information based off of a couple of things. One, what existing rates are charged, even for SCE, Southern California Edison, on their towers, as well as what we saw from the survey. So attached to your report is a survey, and you'll see from that that the rates charged by Carlsbad, for instance, are all in the $4,000 to $5,000 range. The rates charged by Newport Beach are going to be in that $3,500 to $4,500 range. So the $5,000 mark is below DGS, but slightly ahead of our peer cities. So the council certainly could consider toggling those numbers if they think that would be more suitable to, again, allow for the public benefit of telecommunications and finding that right balance.
Thank you.
Quick question. So when you talk about the already standing lamp poles and all that, is that like when they put the 5G antennas up in the city? Is that the same kind of thing?
Yeah, so I'm not first I'll caveat or clarify, I'm not a telecommunications expert, but most commonly with 5G is going to be shorter range, but higher density of communication within that range. So yeah, you're looking at more facilities, but closer together and often attached to existing facilities, whereas macro sites, the only time we really see that with a macro site would be the replacement of a ball field. So like the big lights at a baseball field, that would still be considered a macro facility. It'll still have a large ground-mounted enclosure. That's the only time that you really see like a replacement of existing facilities tied to a macro site.
Okay. Any further questions? Mr. Lightfoot? Hearing none, close the public hearing. Somebody want to weigh in?
Well, I make a motion to adopt Resolution 2628.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Wu, second by Mayor Pro Tem Noblock. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries 5-0.
Okay, next item on the agenda is item 8B, protest hearing to consider all written protests and hear all oral comments to proposed water rates and fees pursuant to Proposition 218, consideration of a resolution adopting proposed water fees and rates with annual adjustments and pass-through rates through January 1st, 2030, and introduction, first reading of an ordinance amending San Clemente Municipal Code Section 13.04.220 regarding adoption of future water rates.
Open the public hearing. And does any council member have any ex parte communications they'd like to? Okay, any information that's come out since the agenda was published?
We have two comments. Is that?
We have two
Yeah,
comments.
we had, the city received 2 written protests out of 26,397 parcels in the city.
Okay. Let's have the staff presentation then.
Okay, yeah, we have Sanjay Gar here to give a brief presentation to the council.
Honorary Mayor, City Council, public staff, it's my pleasure to be here to talk about this important subject about the water rates. Next slide, please. Today, I want to talk about the schedule that we've done and making sure the public knows about this important matter. Talk about the rate study overview, background, financial plan, proposed rates, and recommendation. So we've been starting the study with June 2nd with staff. We had the kickoff meeting. We talked about the objectives of the study. We had a short workshop with City Council on September 16th, where we received your input. We provided the report on November 18th, where City Council received it, made it available. You had the objection hearings at the last council meeting on February 3rd, and today we have the public hearing. Whenever we do a rate study, we always ask ourselves, what are the goals and objectives of the rate study? That's the first step. Second step is the financial plan. We ask ourselves, what's the revenue needs? How do we fund these critical assets to make sure water is available 24/7? Next is cost of service. How do we allocate those costs so everyone pays their fair share? We ask ourselves, what are the impacts in the rate design? And then we do the documentation so everyone clearly sees how we derive the rates and there's nothing hidden and it's very clear and transparent in the process. Whenever we do rate studies, the main legal requirements, Prop 218. Prop 218 states that there needs to be proportionality with the rates. We can't have customers subsidized by other customers. In addition, there's a procedural requirement where you have a public hearing like today. You send out the notice, 45 days, in this case 60 days, so you get people comments to rewrite the report about the report. And if there's no objections, City Council can consider the adoption. Now, what's the main challenge here? Well, the last rate study was completed in September 2017. The increase was, though, in 2022. And since then, imported water, that's from MODOC, has increased substantially. In 2022, it was $2.94. In 26, it's $4.27. So that's a $1.33 increase that the city has not passed on. And that's a cost that the city needs to deal with. Next slide. The other factor is revenue adjustments and coverage ratio. By not meeting those increased operating costs, we have a coverage ratio requirement that we need to meet. If we don't meet those coverage ratio requirements, then the city will be in technical default and the credit rating of the city will be deteriorated. So we would definitely do not want that to occur. So in order to deal with this challenge, what we're recommending is the first year a 9.5% increase, then followed by 3.5. The 27 to 30 does include a pass-through provision, so because we don't really know what imported water will happen. There's a lot of speculations right now that's occurring in the imported water world, in the wholesale market with a Metropolitan and then which ripples down to MODOC. So we're doing 9.5. By doing that, we meet our reserve policy, we meet our coverage ratio requirement, and most importantly, we can fund our critical assets so we have this important service available to our community. These are the proposed rates that we're showing here. We have a pass-through for imported water from MODOC, their fixed charge, the meter charge, and volumetric charge. So what does this mean to our customers? What's the impact? So what we're showing you here is that for a 1-inch meter, we have different usages. 5 units is a low use, average is 10, high 20, and then very high 50. We should have the current bill, proposed bill, and the dollar and the percent change. As you can look, I always focus on dollars because that's what we pay. We don't pay in percentages. So the dollar for a low-end water user will be $6.69 increase per month. For average is $7.69, and then the very larger users, of course, will pay more. In addition, what we're all recommending is a demand management rate. These are stages for a drought if the city has to do a cutback. Cutback could come from either a couple of scenarios. One is an emergency where physically you don't have the water, or from a state regulatory drought condition where the state mandates a cutback. When you have that, you have reduction in sales, and while there are some reduction in revenues, in costs, you still have some fixed costs that you have to cover, and that's what these rates do. So the next slide shows the stages. So City Council or the governor may declare stage 3, may ask the city to cut back by 30%. You would declare level 3 cutback, and then these are the associated surcharge that you would implement. Now these are a back pocket. At the time of that occurs, you may evaluate whether you really need to implement that or not. So we're not suggesting that these will be action items that will be implemented. These are potential. So it just helps you, creates flexibility. You may decide to eat into reserves, or you may decide to cut back on CIP expenditures at that time. So our recommendation is to adopt these rates.
Thank you. We have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay, questions of staff?
I do have one question. Not that I disagree with this, but I'd like you to explain to the public. I received some email complaining about that the more people conserve doesn't lead to a better water bill, and it seems like it's across the utilities. So it comes down to the primary goal, is it to conserve the water to lower ratepayer bill, or is it to stabilize the financial part of it to ensure the reliability of water supply? Can you briefly explain that?
That's a great question, and that's really the crux of the challenge of the water community. And the challenge is that water, what we're really paying for is a service. It's that infrastructure, that reliability to always be there. So none of us are at our home right now, but all the infrastructure is there. So we're paying for making sure that that infrastructure is always there. And if we think about it, there's pressure, there's water quality, there's availability of that water. All that has costs. And those infrastructures are old. San Clemente is an old city. So those infrastructures need to be repaired and replaced, regardless of how much or how little water we use. So most of the costs that we're dealing with is that. There are some costs associated with purchased water. I acknowledge that. It's around 35 to 40%, and that is also captured too. But most of the costs driving right now are the aging infrastructure.
Thank you.
Questions, staff?
I don't have a question, but maybe we could comment on it. Every week at our city council meeting, we have $200,000 for infrastructure repair. We probably have some this week too on the consent. We have this every week. It's pretty significant what those costs are. Do you have off top of head what our annual costs are for infrastructure repair and how much we do almost every meeting?
Yeah, typically, there's about $3.5 million a year put away in the water reserves for capital improvements, and the city spends roughly $3 to $3.5 million a year to improve the water system and not just maintain it, but to do rehabilitation and replacement of assets.
It just seems like it's nonstop, and it will continue to be nonstop. Thank you.
It will. Thank you.
Steve, any questions? Questions, Mark? Yeah, just a couple of things for clarification. All water revenues that we collect go directly back to the water department. Is that correct? Does not go into the general fund?
Yeah, that goes directly to the Water Enterprise Fund. It's not used for sewer activities or general fund or any other. It's just
No
for
other
water.
city government services? I've gotten contact by people that compare us to Santa Margarita Water District, and they say, well, their bills are lower. But don't they do a different kind of billing than we do? Isn't there some additional billing that they get that we don't typically get?
Correct. So Santa Margarita, Molten Miguel, and Irvine Ranch, they generate quite a bit of their revenue on the property roll. So if you look at they have improvement districts. And so if you look at your property tax in those communities, they generate in that fund their capital improvement plan.
Oh, so they pay some of the water on their property tax bill on an assessment. Okay, and one last thing and I'll be done.
I was just going to add to that, and their system's fairly new compared to our 100-year-old.
Fairly new, yeah, very, very new compared. And just for clarification also, what is the typical residential line, a 1 inch or a 1.5 inch? What's the typical?
The typical service line going to a home is 1 inch. Some agencies are 3/4, but San Clemente years ago, I think it was back in the 70s or 80s, required all homes to have fire sprinklers. And so our meters here are a little bit larger than typical other cities. So it's 1 inch is our minimum.
Okay. Any further questions from staff?
I would move the item.
Well, let me close the public.
Okay.
Public comments?
Okay, so let me close the public hearing. Okay, now.
I would move item 8B, staff recommendation.
Okay, we have Councilmember Cabral made the motion, Councilmember Enmeyer second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Okay, next item on the agenda Introduction, first reading of ordinance number 1800 to amend section 3.40.030 of the Second Municipal Code to revise the definition of local business for the local preference program.
Okay, before we have staff, does anybody care to make a motion on this?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm asking if you want, I think somebody can make a motion before we even have discussion, if they care to.
Any public comments?
We do not have any public comments.
Well, I'm in favor of the recommendation, so
I'd second
I'll
it.
make a motion to approve the recommendation.
We have a
Second it.
motion by Noblock, second by Councilman Cabral. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, 10B, informational report on the status of the extension of the pilot goat-grazing project.
And do we have any public comments on this?
We do have one comment.
Okay, we'll have a brief staff report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, Adam Atamian, Community Development Director. This is an informational report regarding the extension of the pilot goat-grazing project. Back on August 19th, 2025, the City Council provided direction and authorization to extend the city's pilot goat grazing project and appropriated up to $100,000 to do such. They also directed the city staff to initiate an RFP process for that. Staff started working on that process. We discovered a number of considerations that needed further review. And so those considerations relate to scheduling of these types of services, both in terms of how they operate on a large scale, but also at the most opportune times of the year. There were some environmental considerations based on a number of factors in the properties that we were looking at. There were some other logistical considerations, such as how these services are provided to more of our sensitive areas, meaning those areas that are closely adjacent to residential neighborhoods. And so with all of that information, staff is currently developing a phased approach, utilizing smaller projects to keep this program going. And we are in the middle of that process right now, and we're hoping that in the next month or so, we'll have some contracts in place. And that also tees this up very well to coincide around the end of, hopefully, the end of our rainy season, to make sure that we're getting, addressing the vegetation at the appropriate time to ensure that it stays maintained through the warmer months ahead. Staff is recommending that the council receive and file this report. However, I'm available for any questions.
Public comments?
Yes, Mike Kay?
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, I just wanted to take a brief moment to thank you all for your patronage, your support for the goat-grazing project. It has been an honor. I'm speaking on behalf of the 20-plus volunteers that we've from our community that come out, 3 or 4 or 5 of them every day, including today. It has been a blessing and a privilege to be able to serve our community and to provide a unusual, but financially, economically, environmentally, very positive means of dealing with some of the invasive species and fire fuel load issues that we have here in town. Real quick, the goat grazing project has expanded. Mother Nature has taken its course. We have 25 baby goats conceived and born and now raised here in San Clemente. We have the only herd of San Clemente Island goats in Southern California. It's a privilege to have these remnants of the local island offshore. Like I said, we've continued to expand our base. We now have 75 adults, 25 juvenile goats that are out grazing every day, including today in the rain, including yesterday in the rain. At the same time, We've been able to reach out to hundreds of our community members, address their concerns, weigh in on some of their thoughts, and learn from them along the way. But in some areas, in the hillsides, we've grazed 3 times now. We grazed in February, March last year. It grew back, May, June. We grazed in July, August, and now it's grown back. We've grazed it a 3rd time. Cumulatively, we're over 25 acres grazed, which is a significant amount. What we have found is radical changes in the local environment. It's much more, the goat grazing, from what I'm seeing, is actually much more effective at bringing about the type of changes to environment than I had thought. And it's startling and exciting. Today we saw red-tailed hawks swooping down at rodents running about. They couldn't do that 2 years ago. There was 6-8 feet of growth over them. And we all marveled at how the environment in so many unexpected ways has changed in such a positive way. I hope you have a chance to come out to visit us. We're happily away with our goats every day, and I just wanted to thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Mike. Entertain a motion?
I'll move.
May I have some?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have some questions for the staff. For the request for proposal, did the city receive any request for proposal? Any response to it?
Yes, the city did. We received 3.
Okay. Are we going to reject them?
Those bids were rejected, yes.
Does it need a council action to reject them?
No, the amounts that those contracts were would not have required city council approval.
Oh, the
because They were
city-
less than $75,000.
Oh, the council authorized 100, but the amount came back with less than the threshold.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I would move the item.
We have a comment by,
I'm sorry.
One question here. So we have set aside about $100,000 for this pilot program to continue, and thank you, Mr. K, for all you're doing. And you really are, this is more or less that money is being there for the goats themselves and the maintenance of the goats, not necessarily that you are making a profit on this. So I just want to thank you for the service that you're doing to San Clemente with this pilot program. My question is, as this is a pilot program, coming up in the future, there will be a point where we need to go out for an RFP. Will there be enough in our budget to continue this program as we are right now with their current budget?
Well, the program, the wildfire prevention program, while it is, I'll say, well-established conceptually, there has not been a pro forma to determine exactly what the costs of that program would be. We have estimated costs for grant application purposes, but it's difficult for me to say at this time what funds are going to be necessary. I can say that $100,000 is nowhere close to what's going to be needed for the type of wildfire prevention program we're contemplating. But as far as how much should be allocated each year, that's a difficult number to pin down.
So why I ask this question is to just make it apparent to the rest of the community that if we want to continue with a fire prevention program that could include goats as well as other fire prevention means, we would need added funds coming into our revenue that could possibly be made through a citizens initiative with a sales tax initiative.
I will avoid discussion about an initiative, but what I will say is that our program was modeled partly on how Laguna Beach addresses creating large defensible space buffers around their residential communities between their open space and residential areas. Their program is in the neighborhood of about $2.2 million a year. At this point in time, the city's defensible space budget, and that's working through either our weed abatement program or some additional funds that we allocate for clearing OCFA recommended areas, is in the neighborhood of $200,000. And so there's a significant delta there.
Yes. Thank you. And so in order to get to that level that we'd want, we would need more revenue coming into our city one way or another.
I think that's safe to say.
Okay, thank you.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Cabral to receive and file.
Second?
Have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Noblock. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries 5-0.
Next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. We do have a revised report, resolution, and agreement for agenda item 11F. It's in front of you at the dais as well as in the back of the council chambers for the public, and we do have one request to speak on item 11H.
Did you say 11-8?
11H.
H is in hospital?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to pull 11E. Either council members want to pull any items?
I'll move the balance.
Second?
What?
Oh, sorry, hear the comment first.
George Gregory on item 11H.
George Gregory, North Beach. Please don't waive these fees. That's church and state. Matter of fact, increase these fees so they stop having church on the beach because it's caused nothing but problems. We get hobos that live week to week for these services that the church provides on the beach. They have their own place to have their own services other than the beach. And I don't know why everybody's picking on North Beach. It's not cool. We can't even have a picnic table there because the hobos take it over daily. So please increase the fees, discourage these people, get them to go somewhere else, share their wealth. You know, try it at Poche, see what happens. Try it at Linden Lane, see what happens. Why does it always got to be North Beach? It's not cool. It's not nice. Churches are supposed to be nice. And this has become bad behavior in the past, and it will again in the future if you allow it to keep happening. Raise their rates. Do not waive the fees. Move them off of North Beach. Move them somewhere else. You know, it probably wouldn't be so bad if we saw them one season every 8 years, but we see them every time. And it's gotten to be quite a problem. Like I say, these hobos are living all week long waiting for these services, waiting for these handouts. They don't even sit there and listen to the sermon. You know, they just appear at the end of the sermon to get their food, to get their clothes, and if they don't like the clothes later on, they just throw it on the ground. Please stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. It's not fair. It's not cool. And it takes a lot of courage for me to come up here and talk against a church. But my gosh, you know, we've talked about this before. Raise their fees. Move them along. Get them off of North Beach. They've got their own place to have a service. They don't need to use the beach. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, George. Have a motion to move the balance?
Second. Is there a second?
A second?
Okay.
Somebody,
Who was the first?
Wu seconded.
okay.
The balance of the items.
The balance of the items, yeah, except for 11E. Just E. We just had a comment on H. Was all, so we had to hear that. So who made the motion to move the balance?
I made the motion to move the balance.
Councilman Rammeyer, Councilmember Wu, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, so we'll go on to 11E, and that's the fee change of the ride sharing. I don't know that we need do we have a staff member here that's available for that? And the staff report's fine. I agree with everything. I was just wondering if there's a chance, because I think even Victor brought up about the people over 65, and I found out that there's many people at the senior center that's how they get from their house to the senior center and home to do their yoga classes or their whatever that they do there. And so by limiting that to, I think, what is it, 4 round trips a month, is that what it is? Would be difficult on many of those. So I was wondering if there's any inclination that we carved out a round trip from home to the senior center on that number of trips, that we could make that larger.
Increasing it to
Yes,
number beyond the 4?
yes, that would be, that's my only thought on this.
Just for, is this a possibility for staff to do, like to, just logistically, to say, all right.
To amend
we
it?
We can amend it and just increase it for that specific spot?
It can be increased for that. About 25% of the ridership is to the senior center. And so, we would have to monitor the program. I mean, it's short because it's only through the end of this fiscal year. We really won't know our first numbers if this is implemented in March, probably until middle of April. And so we may have to modify the program, come back to council, and modify the contract and get an additional supplemental appropriation of funds. We're probably looking at, we built a little buffer in here. The 8 rides is about $160,000 a year, so we built it up to 180. So we may have to come back to council in a few months potentially, or the council could increase that amount to $80,000. I don't know if we can do that here at the dais or not, if it's better to come back and modify the contract at a later date.
Because I was wondering if we could make it, I don't know, let's see, 3. I'm trying to do the math in my head here.
Mayor, maybe a couple of suggestions. One, we could keep the total rides as they are, and then just exempt any rides from a residence of a senior citizen to the senior center and back. Just exempt that and monitor that and see how much that ends up being. And then secondarily, there's also been some discussion that there is another service in the community that provides a similar service. We would certainly seek direction from the city council to communicate with them and see if there isn't something we can do to maybe close some of that gap as well.
And, yeah, you're talking about the village, that group there.
Correct.
Mayor, I think the staff number is slightly conservative. There's some room there. So I'd be inclined to support an increase maybe from 4 to 5, not a lot, but slightly moving up.
Yeah, could I, since we're only talking, let's see, so it's March, April, May, June, like 4 months that this is going to entail, that maybe, as the city manager suggested, we just go ahead and make it unlimited from just the round trip.
Round trip to the
We can
senior
look
center.
at it and see what that actually entails, and in the meantime, we can pursue the village to see if there's some overlap there that we can do. It's like I say, it's 4 months. That would be a great pilot program to see what they are actually doing between the two, and then we could make the adjustment in July.
I can support that.
Well, we don't need 4 months to find out how many people to use that specific route. 2 months would be more than enough to find out.
So we may have to come back in council probably in that May timeframe, maybe 1st of June, and we may need, change the contract and ask for a supplemental appropriation funds, or modify the program potentially.
In June.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're talking about three months, basically.
I think the idea is to try to maximize OCTA's contribution without incurring too much cost for the city. That principle stays, right?
Yes, that's the idea, and I think there is a good opportunity with this other nonprofit that might be able to pick up the gap in this. It's just that we don't really have the time to negotiate and figure that out. I think the 3 months, if we just let the seniors that go to the senior center, let them make that round trip, and now we're talking 3 months until June, look at it, we might be able to have something else in place. And still, I think, I'm optimistic we'll still be able to lessen the burden to council
By the time we
members.
budget, we'll know what those numbers are and can.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's
If
do
you
it.
adjust in 3 months, we can.
So is that your motion?
That is my motion.
I second it.
Okay, second by Councilmember Wu. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Carries 5-0. Okay, so we've got done with that's it for the consent calendar, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Gee, what's next?
Oral communication.
Oral Communications
All
Part
right.
2, I do not have any speaker cards.
Okay.
Future agenda items?
Any future agenda items?
You know, there are some speakers that came tonight about the Erickson House. Instead of doing this as a future agenda item, I'm wondering if maybe I could meet with the staff and maybe one other council member and with the Erickson House as well to see if what's going on, get more of the details, come back to council after just two of us hearing this. Is this something we can do instead of just agendizing? I'm getting a side look from our madam lawyer, madam attorney.
We could do that. The specific request from several of our public speakers tonight was that we forgive and waive a $100,000 and $145,000 loan, which has been going on for 30 years. I don't know if this has been amortized. I don't know if there's anything left on the principal. But I think rather than a meeting to find out, I'd like either a table memo or agendize a report on exactly what our legal obligations are, what are, they're 30 years old, and seems to me that loan should have been paid off long ago, but maybe if it hasn't, they're obviously asking for forgiveness. So I'd like staff to report back on exactly what this is all about.
I would second for an agenda item. If would.
My third for the.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know what
I want to find out the detail. Doesn't mean I support it, I just want to know.
Make it clear, Victor. Are you support it or not?
I want to make sure I get all the information. I don't have the information.
It would be good to know all the options for sure. Okay. So is that clear, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Okay. Also, there are a lot of speakers that came up. There's a lot of concern in our community about this installation of the camera and a lot of things being talked about on it. I want to see if any other council members are interested in doing a town hall on this item.
Well, I wouldn't be adverse to having an it seems like the residents definitely have not been educated on this project by some of the comments that have been made. I don't know what that looks like. I think the thing is kind of done at this point for this.
The request that they don't know what's going on. I mean, there was a public hearing, the same people attended, they had the staff report.
I'm not saying that we didn't make notice, Steve. I'm saying some people, just hearing the comments about can't see the beach or something like that isn't necessarily what this program was even about, but it was an assumption. And I just think we definitely, if we would educate the public a little bit better, I think they would have a better understanding of what this entailed. I think that would be a positive thing. I don't know, how we want to do that, but I agree.
My impression that it wouldn't be really beneficial or positive at all. The people that spoke, I think, is crystal clear. They don't like ICE. They don't like border protection. They don't like border security. They like the idea of opening the borders, and
that's not it at all.
Okay, well, okay, wait.
I'm not sure that would be beneficial at all.
Let's get back to the original debate on this, is whether we could educate the public better. I think we do have that we should do that. Maybe Mark, you and I can just discuss this.
Okay.
And figure out something. Would that be okay?
That'd be great, yes.
Now, what is it?
Mayor, you don't,
Well, I can discuss anything I want to with another council member.
Mayor, you don't need a city council's approval to have.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to have a conversation, that's all I'm saying.
All right.
No, I know that.
Yeah, we're not
I thought
agendizing anything, is what I'm saying. Okay. Okay, future agenda items, I guess we're on to reports.
Reports, that's okay. City Attorney?
I have nothing to report, except it's a pleasure to serve the city of San Clemente. Thank you.
City Manager?
I'll tell you a little bit later tonight whether or not it's a pleasure to serve this community.
Okay, with that, we're not going to adjourn here. We are going to, can we adjourn this meeting and then go to closed session? You're saying yes.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this regular meeting for the next meeting to take place on March 3rd, 2026. Closed session to begin at 4:30 PM at the regular business meeting to begin at 5:30. The meeting to take place here at the council chambers located at 910 Kelly Negocio, and that we adjourn to the completion of our closed closed session meeting that we commenced earlier in the evening.
I'll second that. Before we do vote, just for the public's, we didn't finish what we needed to do in closed session before the general meeting, so we're going back into closed session.
And Mr. Mayor, I also have to report to the public that we do not anticipate there to be any reportable action coming out of closed session, but we will do that later if anybody sticks around, but we don't expect there to be any action taken.
Perfect. So we'll vote on going into closed session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
motion?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to report that there was direction given and no reportable action in closed session item C. Thank you.
Motion by Councilmember Knobloch, second by Councilmember Emmer. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.